The citadel above Eleutherian Prime shimmered like a wound in the sky, a halo of glass and gravity, where 900 alien delegates argued about one tiny blue world. The air inside the grand chamber pulsed with ultraviolet light and arrogance. Voices rippled, buzzing, hissing, clicking, translating through filters that converted venom into diplomacy. The subject on the table, the humans of soul. They breed like spore frogs, they laugh during battle, and they wear fabric, sneered the insectoid chancellor of the Vix. Laughter echoed, wet, metallic, cruel. They call it denim, replied another. A primitive fabric with emotional significance. Imagine dying for pants. General Krall of the Tarth Dominion sat motionless among the mockery. His scales were dull from war, and his left eye, a cybernetic orb forged by human surgeons, twitched at the edges. He had fought in the Soul Campaign, survived where entire fleets dissolved into atomic vapor. His breathing was slow, measured, the way it had been since the day he saw a human smile through smoke. He waited for silence, then rose. His massive frame towered over the others, shadow cutting through their colored light. "You speak of them as vermin," he said, voice scraping like stone. "But vermin do not choose extinction to win a battle." The chamber dimmed. Even the translators hesitated, trying to find gentler equivalents for what he had just said. The Emperor, thin, shimmering, with eyes like twin moons, shifted on the throne. "General Krall, you've been retired from command for cycles. Your trauma is understood. But this council has no time for superstition." Krall's talon thudded against the marble floor. "You misunderstand, Majesty. I do not fear them because of superstition. I fear them because they have no boundaries between love and war. They will fight for their dead pets. They will destroy for their children's laughter." Murmurs, disbelief. A watery being rippled with laughter. "You claim sentimentality is a weapon?" "Yes," Krall growled, "because it makes them unpredictable." The Emperor waved a delicate limb. "Enough. Humanity is small. They beg for trade. They cling to our technology. If they become troublesome, we will discipline them publicly. I've already approved the arrest of 3 of their female diplomats on the moon of Helion. The galaxy will see the price of insolence." A low, guttural sound escaped Krall, a sound his people only made when facing death. "Don't kill them," he said. "Don't even touch them." The laughter returned, sharper this time. "Are you suggesting these fragile creatures would avenge a few females?" asked a delegate with crystalline teeth. "I am suggesting," Krall answered slowly, "that you don't understand what a mother is." That silenced the room. For a heartbeat, the citadel felt weightless. Then came the Emperor's amusement, soft, echoing, patronizing. "Humans are mammals, General. They breed rapidly. They can spare a few." Krall closed his eyes, remembering the last time someone said that. A city of 2 million Tarth had burned to nothing, not by human nukes, but by a single drone strike targeting a communications tower. A misunderstanding, the humans had called it. Then they rebuilt the city within a week, stronger, cleaner, better, using their own funds, their own workers, their own soldiers to plant trees in alien soil. The message had been clear: we destroy only what disrespects us. We rebuild what we respect. Now, the Emperor's gaze glittered with cruel light. "You fought well for us, Krall, but your fear makes you sentimental. These women ambassadors, teachers, whatever they are, will remind humanity of its place." Krall's chest heaved. He wanted to roar, but instead he bowed, old soldier reflex. "Majesty, you rule with logic. I speak from experience. When I saw their cities burn, they did not scream. They promised." He looked up. "And humans keep their promises." He turned and left, the chamber's laughter echoing behind him like gunfire. Outside the hall, Krall moved through the neon-lit corridors of the citadel. Alien aides scurried past him, whispering. To them, he was a relic, half machine, half myth. But he could still smell the faint trace of smoke that no one else seemed to notice, as if the universe itself was exhaling before storm. He paused at a viewing deck overlooking Eleutherian's oceans. Beneath him, the capital's lights flickered, an empire at the height of its glory. Yet all Crawl could see was Earth, that defiant sphere of oceans and storms. He recalled the human soldiers he once captured, how they shared water with his dying crew, how one woman, a medic, had amputated her own finger to save an alien's life because there were no spare gloves. When he'd asked her why, she'd only said, "That's what we do." He hadn't understood it then. Now he did. He opened a comlink, his claw trembling. "Central Command, this is Crawl. Suspend the executions. Repeat, do not harm the humans." Static. Then the smooth mechanical voice of a bureaucrat. "Command acknowledges request. Denied. The demonstration will proceed in 8 cycles. Please submit emotional stability clearance before reapplying." He crushed the communicator in his fist, sparks dripping through his claws. The view of the Empire stretched endlessly, cold, beautiful, doomed. Far away, in a sterile detention cell on Helion, 3 human women sat cross-legged on the floor. The eldest, a strategist with silver streaks in her hair, stirred powdered coffee in a tin mug. The youngest adjusted her translator bracelet and hummed softly, an old country tune, something about roads and home. The middle one, quiet and severe, was sketching the guard rotation schedule on her palm with a piece of charcoal. One of the alien guards leaned against the wall, tail twitching. "They're oddly calm for prisoners." The youngest smiled at him, warm as sunlight. "We've been here before." He frowned. "Before? Here." "Everywhere," she said. "Empires like to teach lessons. We tend to take notes." Another guard snorted. "Enjoy your humor while you can, mammal. At dawn, you'll see what order looks like." The eldest woman looked up, eyes calm. "And you'll see what chaos remembers." The cell fell silent. Outside, the planet's moons cast pale shadows through the glass, glinting off the women's calm faces. Back in the Citadel, Crawl entered his quarters and activated an old hollow map of the galaxy. Human colonies blinked in faint blue. Thousands of tiny lights scattered insignificant, yet perfectly arranged, like the pupils of some colossal creature staring back. He realized with a slow chill that the humans weren't expanding randomly. They were surrounding something. He muttered to himself, "What are you planning, little mammals?" No answer. Only the hum of the Citadel and the pulse of his mechanical heart. In the lower decks, a maintenance drone paused mid-flight as a hidden signal flickered through its circuits. Across the network, billions of small devices, coffee dispensers, entertainment pods, even traffic drones, registered the same anomaly. A human-coded ping, silent, invisible, waiting. Above the sleeping Empire, the stars seemed to tremble. Crawl stared out into the void, whispering to no one, "They told you not to touch their women." He didn't know it yet, but somewhere deep in the void, Earth had just gone dark. It began with silence, not an explosion, not a transmission, but the absence of noise. The galaxy, used to humanity's endless chatter, music, memes, negotiation broadcasts, trade logs, and karaoke recordings, woke to static. No greetings from the sole diplomats. No stock exchange traffic from Mars. Even the background radio hum of Earth's satellites went dead, as though the planet had collectively exhaled and refused to breathe again. At first, the Galactic Empire celebrated. Their propaganda channels spun the event as a capitulation through communication fatigue. Humans, it was said, had finally learned obedience. 1,000 alien newscasters delivered smug commentary. "They've gone quiet. How civilized of them," one quipped, earning laughter from a studio audience with 12 different species. Others joked the humans must be collectively grounded by their leaders. But by the second day, unease crept in. Earth's trade vessels vanished from the hyperlanes. Mining stations in the belt powered down without distress calls. Even the pirates, those chaos-loving scoundrels who thrived on human unpredictability, were gone. Their sectors were empty. Sensors found no wreckage, no radiation trails. Just empty orbit, as if someone had carefully cleaned the board. General Crawl hadn't slept in 3 cycles. The silence clawed at him. He sat in a dim war room aboard his cruiser Iron Requiem, surrounded by nervous aides. The holographic star chart showed human colonies blinking out one by one like dying candles. He growled lowly, "They're not dead. They are hiding. Impossible, said the admiral beside him, a creature of transparent membranes and gentle arrogance. They lack the infrastructure to conceal planetary networks. Krall leaned closer, his single organic eye burning. You think humans need infrastructure to hide? They can hide in plain sight. They can make a war look like an accident, and an invasion look like a peace treaty. The admiral scoffed. Your paranoia honors your enemies too much. Krall turned sharply. I buried my enemies once, and their ghosts sent me postcards. A murmur ran through the room. The crew avoided his gaze. They could all sense it, the shift in the air, the way the comm systems crackled as though the void itself were whispering. Across the Empire, the human silence began to mutate from an inconvenience into dread. Alien traders filed missing persons reports. The art markets collapsed when human collectors vanished. A popular interstellar talk show, Cooking Across the Cosmos, released a pre-recorded episode featuring a cheerful human chef teaching aliens to make grilled cheese. Halfway through the broadcast, the feed glitched, and every channel across the network went black for 4 seconds. When it resumed, no one could explain the faint whisper embedded in the static. Coming home. On Helion, the moon where the 3 human women were imprisoned, guards began to experience system malfunctions. Doors opened and closed without command. The temperature fluctuated between freezing and sweltering. The women remained calm. They played cards, recited old Earth poetry, and once, according to the surveillance report, laughed for a full minute straight, as though sharing a private joke the universe didn't get. The youngest of them drew a small heart on the cell wall, using dust from the floor. She whispered to it softly, "That should be enough of a signal." A tremor rippled through the base. The guards cursed and checked power relays. The systems flickered back to normal, but the heart on the wall glowed faintly blue for a second before fading. In the citadel above Eleutherian Prime, the Emperor convened an emergency session. His voice was sharp as crystal. This is nothing but human theater. They believe dramatics will earn our sympathy. They underestimate the depth of our order. Krall, standing at the chamber's edge, said quietly, "Order dies the moment fear forgets what it's afraid of." The Emperor ignored him. "Proceed with the executions. Tomorrow at the 9th cycle. Make it public." The delegates cheered, not out of conviction, but desperation. The thought of ceremony gave them comfort. It made the silence seem manageable. Later in the corridors, Krall found a human technician cleaning a data conduit, a survivor from the early diplomatic programs. The young man saluted clumsily. "Sir, they say Earth's gone dark." "Yes," Krall answered. "What does it mean?" The general's jaw tightened. "It means the stars are listening." That night, the human vanished from the Citadel's personnel roster. His workstation was spotless. Only a coffee mug remained, with 3 words scratched into its side. Not gone. Waiting. By dawn, Hylion's prison complex was surrounded by broadcast drones, reporters, and spectators. The 3 women were led to a stage of polished stone under the pale light of twin moons. The crowd murmured, cameras humming. The eldest spoke first, her tone casual. "This seems excessive for a traffic violation." The execution officer ignored her, reading out the charges: subversion, infiltration, psychological manipulation. She smiled faintly at each one, as if reading a grocery list. The middle woman tilted her head. "Can I make a request?" The officer hesitated. "You may not." "It's small," she said. "Just make sure the broadcast reaches Earth." He snorted. "They can't hear you. Your planet's gone dark." Her eyes gleamed. Perfect. At that exact instant, every screen across the galaxy flickered. The live feed of the execution warped into static, then into an image. Earth, hanging silent in the void, its oceans dimmed, its satellites dead. For 3 long seconds, it rotated calmly. Then the transmission changed. A woman's voice, soft, calm, utterly human, spoke over the frequency. "To those who have taken what is ours, thank you for your patience. We have finished the calculations." Across military outposts, alarms erupted. Every navigation system, every AI, every comm buoy that had once processed human data, be it a joke file, a meme, a song, suddenly activated. Code cascaded through the networks, beautiful and terrifying. Machines began to hum melodies, earth songs, while encryptions fused into impossible geometries. The Empire's fleets reported critical failures. Weapon arrays misfired. Engines powered down mid-flight. Planetary shields deactivated without reason. From the outer colonies came frantic transmissions. Our satellites are reprogramming themselves. We can't. The line cut. Krall stared at his data console aboard the Iron Requiem. Human signatures were lighting up across the void. Massive, organized, deliberate. They're not attacking, he whispered. They're positioning. A voice came through his comms, faint, female, undeniably human. General Krall. You tried to warn them. He froze. Who is this? Someone you saved a long time ago, the voice said gently. We're grateful. Step aside. Then she was gone. All at once, the silence ended. Not with explosions, but with music. Old Earth music. Bad Moon Rising echoed through the Empire's communication spectrum. Distorted but cheerful, bleeding through every frequency like laughter in a graveyard. Krall watched the Emperor's fleet scramble in confusion. None of their ships moved. They couldn't. Every command console now displayed the same line of text. Authorization confirmed. Operation Mother's Wrath engaged. The Emperor's voice cracked over the broadcast. What have they done? Krall stared out the viewport as the stars around Eleutherion turned blood red for 4 seconds, then faded back to normal. They warned us, he said softly. And we taught them we don't listen. Far below, on Helion's execution stage, the 3 women vanished in a pulse of blue light. The crowd screamed, the cameras shattered, and for the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Empire stopped speaking. Every world that had mocked the silence now found itself inside it. And in the dark between the stars, something vast and patient opened its eyes. The stars reappeared one by one, but the galaxy no longer trusted them. Whole fleets hung motionless, drifting through the void like toys whose strings had been cut. Every ship connected to the human network, every vessel that had ever accepted a Terran algorithm, a joke file, a song, or a supply shipment, was now paralyzed. The Empire's admirals shouted orders that went nowhere. Their ships obeyed only the stillness. Then, without warning, new signals appeared. They were human, clean, steady, deliberate. Not distress calls. Coordinates. From the blackness, ships began to emerge. They didn't roar into the system with grand displays of power. They slid into being, as if the universe itself had agreed to make room. Metallic cathedrals stitched with armor. Engravings on their hulls in Earth languages. USS Perseverance. HMS Kindness. UNS Lioness. No banners. No colors. Only faint music bleeding through open frequencies. Violins and steady drum beats beneath the quiet voice of an old singer murmuring, "You can't always get what you want." In the Emperor's war chamber, panic reigned. "How are they here?" cried the High Admiral. No warp signature, no mass distortion, no. They were already here, Krall muttered. He was standing in the corner, eyes locked on the holographic field showing the silent fleet. They've been here for decades. Watching. Waiting. The Emperor turned, trembling, his silver robes quivering. "You claimed they hid thousands of ships in our space without detection?" Krall's voice was quiet. "Not ships. People. Colonies. Satellites. Farms. Refugees you ignored because they smiled too much and paid their taxes." The room fell silent. A tremor ran through the Citadel structure as the first human transmission arrived. A calm female voice carried across the void. "Good morning, Your Majesty. This is General Meredith Hale of the United Earth Defense Command. Before we begin, please know this is not a war. It's a correction." The Emperor blinked, speechless. Krall's scales rippled with recognition. Hale. The strategist from Helion. The one they'd condemned to die. The voice continued, every word measured, almost playful. "You've been operating an empire with 72% inefficiency. We've fixed that for you. Please remain calm while we redistribute your resources." Outside, The human ships moved with terrifying grace. They didn't fire weapons. They turned off enemy systems. Power grids went dead. Missiles detached themselves from bays and floated harmlessly into space. Drones rewrote their own directives mid-flight. An alien broadcast journalist tried to narrate the spectacle, voice trembling. Ladies and gentle beings, it appears the Terrans are reprogramming our warships into, wait, relief transports? He was right. Massive cruisers, once meant for planetary bombardment, now dropped containers of food, medicine, and water onto worlds that had been starving under imperial blockade. The humans were dismantling oppression with logistics. One alien general barked, "They're stealing our infrastructure." Krall smiled grimly. "No, they're improving it." In a dim command bridge aboard the largest human vessel, the Silent Treatment, General Hale watched the chaos unfold through a transparent viewport. Her hair, streaked with silver, glowed under the light of burning stars. She sipped coffee from a metal mug and murmured to her aide, "They'll call this invasion. I call it customer service." The aide, a nervous young lieutenant, hesitated. "Ma'am, do we proceed with Phase 2? "Not yet," Hale said. "Let them talk. Let them panic. It's educational." She turned to the open channel again. "Your Majesty, this isn't revenge. We tried that centuries ago. It didn't take. Think of this as pest control. For arrogance." Her tone was soft, polite, devastating. Every word carried the rhythm of authority learned from centuries of pretending to be small. On Eleutherion, the Emperor's advisors argued, "They're bluffing. Their numbers are limited. If we concentrate fire." "We can't," the Admiral stammered. "Their code infected every ship's targeting system. We'd be shooting our own engines." "Then negotiate," another snapped. The Emperor shook his head. "With savages?" Krall's patience snapped. "Savages don't build symphonies into their code. Savages don't rewrite your ships to feed your own starving citizens." For the first time, the Emperor looked afraid. Meanwhile, in the outer sectors, smaller alien colonies made contact with human ground teams. Reports spread like contagion. Human soldiers landing without weapons drawn, helping repair cities, handing out rations, even teaching children how to make fire-safe shelters. They smiled constantly, unnervingly. When asked why they were helping, one soldier shrugged. "Because you'll listen better after dinner." Not all encounters were peaceful. Some imperial worlds resisted, firing on the approaching human aid ships. Hale's response was surgical. "We regret this misunderstanding," she said over the comms, her voice as calm as a doctor. "Please stand by for correction." Seconds later, every enemy weapon detonated harmlessly, as though embarrassed to exist. The human fleet continued its advance, accompanied by Earth music. Painted Black, Johnny B. Good, Bohemian Rhapsody, a cultural invasion disguised as mercy. Every alien frequency carried the weight of history, a sound no other species had ever created. The sound of imperfect, stubborn defiance. Krall received a direct communication from Hale. Her face appeared on his console, composed, intelligent, faintly amused. "General," she greeted, "I heard you tried to stop the executions." "I failed," he said. "You succeeded," she corrected softly. "Failure would have been letting them think we didn't notice." Her words unsettled him. "What are you doing?" "Finishing a conversation," she said. "They tried to make examples of us. So we became the lesson." He stared at her, then asked, almost pleading, "You could have annihilated them. Why didn't you?" She smiled faintly. "Because fear wears off. Shame lingers." Across the galaxy, human forces established a pattern. No planets destroyed, no civilian casualties, no mass executions. Yet in every system they touched, the symbol of the Galactic Empire was torn down, replaced by a single emblem. A stylized human hand cradling a planet. Underneath it, in 27 alien languages, the same phrase appeared, "We warned you." News feeds called them angels, devils, saviors, tyrants. But the name that stuck came from a small child on a refugee moon who, after receiving bread from a smiling Marine, whispered, "They're polite monsters." The phrase spread like wildfire. Within a week, Even the Empire's top generals were using it behind closed doors. On the bridge of the Iron Requiem, Krall watched his Emperor's worlds bend without burning. He knew the truth. This was humanity's final form, violence, so refined it looked like kindness. He turned to his comms officer. "Patch me through to General Hale." Her face appeared again, illuminated by the eerie glow of her ship's displays. "General Krall, I assume you're calling to surrender." He gave a humorless chuckle. "To advise, if this continues, there will be nothing left to rule. Not even you." "Then we'll build something new," she said. "We're good at rebuilding. It's how we hide the bones." For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence between them felt almost holy. Then Krall asked the question the entire galaxy feared to ask. "What happened to Earth?" Her eyes softened. "Home sleeps. We learned that when the galaxy comes to your doorstep with cruelty, it's best to move the furniture before they knock again. You evacuated the whole planet." "Not evacuated," she said, smiling faintly. "Repositioned." Before he could respond, the Emperor's voice broke through every channel. "This is your final warning, Terran. Withdraw your forces, or we will." Static swallowed the rest. Every Imperial ship in orbit of Eleutherian powered down. Lights dimmed. Across the sky, hundreds of human ships pivoted as one, forming a perfect circle around the Empire's capital. General Hale stood at her command deck, eyes reflecting the pale glow of distant lightning. She raised her mug in a small toast toward the terrified planet below. "Your Majesty," she said, her voice now broadcast across every Imperial frequency, "you didn't kill 3 human women. You declared war on motherhood itself." Then the transmission cut. For the next 60 seconds, nothing moved. No engines. No sounds. Only the faint echo of a heartbeat transmitted across the void. Slow, steady, unmistakably human. On his bridge, Krall felt it in his chest, a rhythm that belonged to every soldier who'd ever looked into a human's smiling eyes and seen a predator wearing politeness as armor. The heartbeat stopped. Then a single new message appeared on every screen in the Empire, unsigned and untraceable. "Phase 2 authorized." Krall whispered to himself. And this is where the monsters stop pretending. The capital of the Galactic Empire burned quietly, like a candle too proud to admit its flame was dying. The sky above Eleutherian Prime had turned the color of rusted gold, filled with drifting wreckage that glimmered like autumn leaves. The once invincible Imperial citadel now stood fractured, its glass spires bent and bowed under the weight of silence. Streets that had once thrummed with alien life lay empty, filled only with smoke and the echo of human footsteps. General Meredith Hale walked through the ruins with a cup of coffee in one hand and a data tablet in the other, her uniform scorched but neat. Behind her, squads of human Marines in matte black armor moved without a word, their boots crunching on shattered stone. Above them, massive orbital carriers hung in still formation, casting shadows over what remained of the palace. Hale's voice carried softly into her comms. "Operation Mother's Wrath concluded. Resistance neutralized. Begin reconstruction protocol." She stopped before the Imperial Palace gates. The doors, once gleaming with molten silver, hung crooked on their hinges. A guardbot sparked and died beside her, its once proud crest now replaced by a crude symbol etched into its plating, an open human hand. Hale studied it for a moment, then murmured, "They always need to make art of it." Inside the Grand Hall, the Emperor knelt in silence among the debris. His robes were torn, his crown lopsided, his once luminous skin dimmed to a gray pallor. He did not rise when the human soldiers entered. He only whispered, "You could have destroyed us. Why didn't you?" Hale took a slow sip of her coffee. The sound of liquid against porcelain echoed unervingly in the ruined chamber. "Because destruction is noisy," she said, "and humanity prefers to make a point quietly." The Emperor's eyes twitched upward. What point could justify this humiliation? "That the universe runs on respect," she said, setting her mug on a broken column. "And you ran out of it." Behind her, a holographic display flickered to life. Images filled the air, worlds liberated, cities rebuilt overnight, alien children playing under banners bearing the Earth insignia. We don't conquer, she continued. We adopt. You'll find that more permanent. The Emperor's voice trembled with weary disbelief. You think you can rule through kindness? Hale smiled faintly. No. We rule through consequences. She gestured, and one of her aides stepped forward, projecting streams of data. Centuries of imperial war records, censored broadcasts, hidden atrocities now unsealed and distributed to every inhabited system. The Emperor's own crimes were displayed before him in cold blue light. Planetary purges, resource famines, forced breeding programs. Hale's voice was calm. We didn't forge your downfall. You did. We just made sure everyone could see it. He stared at the projection with hollow eyes. We kept order. No, she said, stepping closer, her boots crunching over shards of crystal floor. You kept fear. We just showed them what happens when fear retires. A distant rumble shook the palace. Krall appeared in the doorway, his armor dented and his cybernetic eye flickering. He bowed his head slightly. It's over, General. The last fleets surrendered. Some worlds are already requesting Terran governors. Hale turned to him, her expression softening for the first time. They won't be governors, Krall. They'll be teachers. He gave a rough laugh. You teach with bombs. Only when words fail. Krall limped forward, his scales caked with dust. You were right. We never understood what you are. What are we, General? Asked the Emperor bitterly. Gods. No, Hale said, kneeling to meet his eye level. We're the consequence of your imagination. You believed we were fragile, so we became the thing fragility hides behind, resolve. Her voice softened. When you killed our envoys, you didn't just execute diplomats. You murdered the illusion that kept us pretending to be civilized. The Emperor swallowed hard. And now you think you've restored peace? Not peace, she said. Memory. She stood and motioned to her Marines. They lowered their weapons in a synchronized gesture, one of respect, not submission. Hale nodded to the Emperor. Your people will live. They'll rebuild. You'll govern under our charter until they can stand on their own. Humanity doesn't need more graves. We just need a better neighborhood. The Emperor's gaze faltered. You sound merciful. I'm efficient, she said. Mercy's what efficiency feels like to someone who's lost power. Outside, the sky cracked with thunder. Hale walked to the balcony overlooking the imperial city. From above, the world looked different. Streets glowing with soft blue lights of reconstruction drones. Transport ships descending in perfect harmony. It wasn't invasion anymore, it was restoration. The irony was breathtaking. Krall joined her. Do you think they'll forgive you? She stared at the horizon. Forgiveness isn't the goal. Understanding is. Forgiveness fades. Understanding lasts. He looked at her profile, composed, severe, but tired. You've turned empathy into a weapon. She gave a humorless smile. It always was one. We just stopped pretending it wasn't loaded. Below them, alien citizens emerged from hiding, their eyes wide as they watched human engineers rebuild power lines, distribute food, patch roofs. Children pointed at the Terran insignia and whispered the new word spreading across the galaxy, Motherworld. Hale exhaled, watching the smoke curl from the shattered spires. They'll call this mercy. It isn't. It's quarantine. Krall frowned. For what? For arrogance, she said. Her comms unit crackled. Ma'am, said the lieutenant on the silent treatment, we've intercepted a secure transmission. Remnants of the Imperial Guard rallying in the outer sectors. Hale's eyes narrowed. Transmit a reply. The officer hesitated. What message, ma'am? Just this, she said quietly. Tell them mothers don't warn twice. A tense silence followed. Then the faintest smile ghosted across her face. She turned back to Krall. You said once that humans fight for emotion. You were right. But not for rage or pride. For belonging. For the simple idea that no one gets to tell us when we've had enough. Krall looked toward the horizon. What now? Now we rebuild their world, she said. Then we teach them to do it themselves. And when they're ready, we'll leave. And if they rise again, she took a long sip of her coffee, eyes fixed on the city below. Then we'll come back with tea. The Emperor stirred behind them, voice weak but sharp. "You're not heroes. You're tyrants wearing smiles." Hale didn't turn around. That's what every abuser says when the child stops crying. He fell silent, head bowed. Around him, the palace trembled with a hum of Terran drones beginning their work, melting debris, sealing walls, planting nutrient moss in the cracks. The empire that once thrived on dominance was being rebuilt with compassion it couldn't comprehend. Outside, across 1,000 systems, the pattern repeated. Human fleets delivered food instead of fire, water instead of wrath. They rewrote the map of power with care so precise it frightened everyone who watched. By nightfall, every Imperial transmission carried the same closing phrase, in partnership with the United Earth Accord. No one dared remove it. In her private quarters aboard the silent treatment, Hale sat alone, recording a message to Earth. She looked at the camera, her face illuminated by the pale glow of distant starlight. Mission concluded. Empire subdued. Civil order restored. Requesting instruction. There was no reply. The line to Earth remained silent, as it had since the beginning. Her reflection in the viewport looked older than she remembered. "You're still watching, aren't you?" she whispered. "Still waiting for us to grow up." A knock at her door broke the stillness. Krall stepped in, holding something behind his back. "A gift," he said awkwardly. "A relic from your prisoner cell on Helion." He handed her a small metal charm, a heart, etched with the faint outline of Earth. Hale turned it over in her palm, her composure cracking for the first time. "They left it behind." "They left it for you," Krall said. Her throat tightened. "They always did have faith I'd clean up the mess." Outside, the last fires of Eleutherion died out. The planet, for the first time in millennia, was quiet. Not silent, quiet, like breath returning after grief. Krall bowed deeply. "The Empire yields. What message shall I send to the galaxy?" Hale rose, eyes cold and tired, but bright with something dangerously close to hope. "Tell them the war is over." She paused, setting the heart on the table beside her coffee. "And tell them this. Peace doesn't mean forgiveness. It means we've run out of excuses." As she turned toward the viewport, the stars flickered once, every one of them pulsing in synchrony, as if acknowledging the new order. Then a single transmission bled through the static, faint but unmistakably human. "Earth to Hale, good work, darling. Phase 3 begins when they start believing they're free." The signal cut. Hale smiled faintly, the kind of smile only predators make when the hunt is done. "Yes, ma'am," she whispered. And above the quiet world of Eleutherion, the galaxy bowed its head.